Okay, what I'd like for you to do is to share your screen so that I can guide you in using the software.
Okay.
Perfect. So you can minimize your browser
Okay.
and email.
Yeah.
And which version of InDesign are you using? Is it 2021? Okay.
Yeah.
And are you on Mac or you're on Mac?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay. So then I'd like for you to go to the tutorial files folder that you downloaded in
Yeah.
the Auto-Price documentation folder. Auto-Price documentation.
So I guess I can turn my video. I can turn my video off now.
DesignMerge catalog Auto-Price documentation. And we have more documentation, and then we have the tutorials folder. So in the tutorials folder,
This
you'll
one?
see PDFs of each of these tutorials. Now, we unfortunately have not updated these recently. That's one of the things that's on my company's to-do list.
Yeah.
So I'll be pointing out to you any differences as we're going through.
Sure. Okay.
And the more documentation folder contains additional information should you ever want to delve any deeper into the various features that the tutorial introduces you to.
Right. Okay.
So we're going to be starting with just the basics today, and we have a tutorial file to help walk you through those basics.
Okay.
So inside that tutorial files folder,
This one here, Auto Price Tutorials.
the one below it
Oh,
says tutorial files.
Right.
Yep. There's one called catalog page, and we want to open that miles.indd document.
Okay.
Now, all the files, you can ignore that warning when it comes up. You won't get that warning when you're using our software
Okay.
on your new documents. It's just because this is an old document that you're seeing the warning.
Right. Okay.
And you can update the links. So this is just and there's a picture on the pasteboard, we can ignore that. So this is just a simple single page of a mock-up of a catalog page
Right.
in order for us to show you how to use the software. And we set up this page so that we could show you all of the features in a single page.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, it's just a single.
Okay.
Right. Right. Okay. Oh, and this is a picture over here?
Yeah, and actually it's an old picture, so you can even delete it if you want,
Okay.
because it's an old picture.
Sure.
Okay, so let's save the document, and you want to save it in the same folder from which it came. So you're converting it from an older version of InDesign to a newer version of InDesign.
Okay. I'll just name it new, I guess.
Okay. So now, looking at our syllabus for today, we discussed this is your sample document that we're going to be using. When you see little blue underscores like you do in the top right corner, that means that that content has already been tagged by DesignMerge catalog so that it's ready for updating.
This little line, thick line there.
Yeah. And when you don't see a blue underscore, then that content has not been tagged by our software.
Right. So that's done manually when it's first created then. Is that right?
We're going to show you today how to tag, for example, prices for updating.
I see. Okay.
So that you'll see those blue underscores appear on the prices on the left side of the page.
Okay.
So with our software, you can tag any kind of text. It could be the product name, the product description. In the tutorial, we're just simply going to work with prices and updating prices. But just to let you know, you can tag more than just a price.
Right, like an item number, I guess, and part number, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you could tag whatever you want on the page.
Huh.
As long as you have data in the data file to update that content.
Right, any
So if
text
my
or...
data file had the product name, I could update the product names.
Right.
If my data had the product description, I could update the product descriptions.
Okay, so any text or numbers or that kind of thing.
Any text, yeah. Or a number. A number is text.
Okay.
And then additionally, we can also update graphics.
Oh,
or
okay.
pictures.
So like a placed image like this graphic here, you could swap to a new one then?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, we
Cool.
can. That's right.
nice.
So that's about the document. Now we're going to take a look at the database. So if you could minimize InDesign and go back to the folder where you had this document.
Okay.
So in this catalog page folder, you see the graphic files for the graphics we have in the document. And then you see our DDF, okay, below that now you have a Microsoft Excel sheet.
This one, yeah.
Yeah, okay, our software does not connect to Microsoft Excel. But what we did is we made a Microsoft Excel sheet, and if you open that file up.
Okay.
So if you get your data and it's a Microsoft Excel format, for example,
right,
then what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to export that data to a delimited text format in order to use it. And the way you do that is, yeah, just save as.
Save as, yeah.
And then you would give it a name. I don't want to overwrite any that we have, so say new.
Yeah, right.
And then for the file format, you have to choose the correct file format. Now you might be using CSV, you might be using further down in the list, tab delimited.
Oh, okay.
Or it could be just plain CSV, which is ASCII, not UTF-8.
Right.
So you got,
16.
so there's CSV UTF-8 at the top.
Yeah.
That's one option.
Okay.
Then further down in the list under specialty format, you have the tab delimited. In case you're doing text as tab delimited. And then further down the list, you might do comma separated CSV, which means it's not UTF-8 coded, it's ASCII code. So those are some of the choices you could choose. Now we've already done this, so we're not going to do that today.
Right. Okay, I got the idea. So you mentioned three different like popular options. You're saying like the CSV, right? I'm just going to write this down.
And then down the list, tab delimited.
This one, okay.
And then further down the list, comma separated.
So there's more CSV files. There's a few of them that have that same extension, eh? Okay.
The difference between the two CSV options here, that top one is UTF-8 encoded text, where the bottom one is ASCII encoded text. UTF-8 encoded text can encode more characters than ASCII.
Oh, okay. Delimited, right.
So I don't know, are they going to be giving you data to update content?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so I don't know if they're going to give you that data in a Microsoft Excel format, or if they're going to give you that data in a plain text file format.
I believe it was Excel, so I'll have to do this conversion. Mm-hmm.
So you will have to do this.
I think so.
When you do the conversion, you're going to need to know which to choose, comma separated or tab delimited.
Right.
And then when you choose comma separated, you're welcome to choose the UTF-8 just in case there's any like weird European characters in your data set.
Okay, so that's
It'll take care of it.
The common format is the first one to try then?
It depends on your document setup, and you'll see what I mean. And I can help you with that when we get through describing the basics.
Yeah, okay.
We'll take a look at what would you do.
Right, with what would I have. I don't know anything about the source of the files or the history.
Yeah, we're gonna have to take a look at that to know, should you choose CSV or should you use tab?
I get it, yeah.
I don't know what to tell you until I see your document setup.
Okay,
and you'll see what I mean when I show you how you do your setup.
Yeah, we'll just go through the basics with your files.
Yeah, and then we'll come back and take a look at what would you do.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to know you will be getting an XLS file.
Yes, I do have a file. It's been a while since I looked at them, but that's what I remember seeing.
Okay, no problem. Okay, let's close this file and let's take a look at the data files we have.
Okay, so I'll just hide Excel.
So so we have two text files here. One's called Miles Detailed. We're not going to use that one today. It's got more information in it.
Right.
And the other one is called Miles.txt.
Oh,
now this is good to notice that when you double clicked, it opened in text edit.
Right.
Now, when you have a comma separated file, if you double click, it may auto open in Microsoft Excel.
Oh, okay.
Now, so if they give you a file that's got a .csv
Yeah.
If they give you a file that has a .csv file name extension,
Yeah.
you would not want to double click so that it auto opens in Microsoft Excel.
Okay.
So this is just a little power tip for you, and we actually have a knowledge base article on our help desk that explains this in more detail. But the problem with double clicking on a .csv file such that it would automatically open in Microsoft Excel is that when Microsoft Excel opens that .csv file, it automatically formats data.
Oh, it does.
And for example, if you have a price that's a .00, Microsoft Excel will drop the .00.
Oh, right. So it's ready to change it to an XLS.
It just automatically does it. Right. And the same thing if you have a price that's $0.99. When Microsoft Excel opens it, it'll open it as .99. It will drop the 0.
Oh, I see.
And you don't want Microsoft Excel to do those auto formats on your data.
So when you open that, but you'd have to save it for that to change the file, wouldn't it? Or
that would only happen if it's a .csv file. As you can see, when you open a .txt file, it does not open in Excel automatically.
Right. Okay.
So if it's a .txt file, it's no big deal. It's only if your data is a .csv file that you have to be more careful how you open it.
Okay, I'll make a note of that.
So we won't go any further in this until we know what format you're getting. If you're getting Excel, or if you're getting .csv, or if you're getting .txt.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, any more information would be kind of superfluous for you. Okay. So I just wanted to give you that little heads up.
Okay.
So we're going to be working with the miles.txt to start with because it's just simple for training. So if you open that up. Okay, so when you open this up in a text editing application, the tabs don't line up beautifully, but you can still kind of tell what's in there.
Oh, I see.
So you have your item number, your list price, your sale price, a UK list price, a UK sale price. That's so we can show you how to do versioning.
Right.
And then a quantity amount. So is it for the price for 1 product, 5 products, or 10, a set of 10. And then a picture. So if you take a look at the first row, the item number is J160, I think it's an 80.
Yeah.
The list price is is that a 6 or an 803.00? You can probably read that better than I can. The list price is 94.50. Then you have your UK list price, your UK sale price.
Yeah.
Your quantity of 1, so that's a price for when you're buying just 1 at a time.
Yeah.
And then you have your picture. Now, if you want to update pictures, this is what you would do is in your data file, you would put the file name of the picture. Another option would be the full path, which would end in the file name.
Oh, right.
So do you know, will you be updating any pictures for these?
Gee, that's a good question, but I would assume so.
Yeah, it just depends. Some people, they use our software to update pictures and others don't.
I see. I guess you could just do it manually in links as well, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, depending on the scope of the project, right? Okay.
Yeah, some people need to update pictures and others, because they want to swap out which file is being used.
Right. And I guess it depends on how risky, like if the image is a different size or whether it's a consistent source of the image, that kind of thing.
Yeah, if it's going to be the same graphic file, then, if the graphic file modified, InDesign can update to the modified version of that same graphic file.
Right.
That's just a built-in InDesign feature. Now we have settings, as you'll see. We'll talk about how to do picture links, and it would be helpful if you could find out from your project lead whether or not you'll be doing pictures, so we know how much detail to go into it.
Okay,
so we'll leave how to update pictures till your second session to give you time to ask your project lead, will you be linking and updating pictures with our software?
Okay, I'm
Or
just
we
gonna
would
write,
just be using InDesign to do the linking and updating.
I'm just gonna make a note of that. So the 2 points so far for questions are CSV or TXT data source.
Yeah, the
I guess.
data file format.
Source format, right?
And then will you be using our software to link and update pictures?
Got it, okay.
Or will you be just using InDesign features for that?
Right.
So is that catalog or InDesign for your picture management? Perfect. Now looking at a database and then with the document, let's say for example, we have a price in the document. So if you leave this file open but switch over to InDesign, perfect. Okay, so let's say in that top left corner for your Ethernet PC cards,
Yeah.
we have a price for item number K1102 in the table.
Yeah.
And it's currently in the document, it is just zeros.
Right.
So we want to link that list price in the document so that our catalog, DesignMerge catalog, can bring a price in from the data file.
Okay.
So when we link that 000.00 content, we need to give DesignMerge catalog 2 pieces of information so it knows which price from the data file to place in this spot in the document.
Right. 2 pieces. Okay.
So what we're going to assign to this content in the document is what we call a search key and a variable link. So now if you go back to your data file, the search key is the value we will search for to know which row to pull the value from.
Yeah.
So in this particular data file, we're going to be using our item numbers as our search keys. So in the document, we're going to assign that 000.00 to the search key K1102. And then our software will go into this data file and look for the item number K1102, and that will know which row to pull the data from.
Oh, okay.
So the search key tells us which row to pull the data from, and in our job, we're going to be using the item number as our search keys.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Next, now we need to know what data from that row to place in that spot in the document.
Right.
So to do that, we're going to assign a variable link as well as the search key.
Okay.
The variable link is going to point to a field. So we're going to assign a variable link called list price, and that variable link called list price is going to point to the list price field. So now we know we should bring the 46.55 price into that spot in the document.
I see, that's the column, okay.
So it's just a simple lookup.
Mm-hmm.
What's my search key to know what row, and then what's my variable link, and the variable link says which field from that row has the data I want to put in that spot in the document.
Right, okay. So you call that a field.
Pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, it's 2 dimensions, right? X and Y, or, you know, columns and rows. You call them fields, though?
Yeah, so in Excel, they call them rows and columns.
Okay.
In database language, which is what we use, each row is called a record.
Oh, okay.
So you have records in your data file, not rows.
Right.
And the records contain fields of data.
Okay, I'll write
Which
that
is what
down.
you call in Microsoft Excel, you call a column. So a row is a record,
Yeah.
a column is a field. A record is a row, a field is a column.
Got it. Okay, I just wrote that down.
Yeah, so that's just vocabulary. When you're talking about data, you don't refer to them as rows and columns, you refer to them as records and fields.
Okay. R.
So that's a good point.
So R and R, I guess the way to remember that, rows and records.
Yeah, records and the records have fields of data.
Got it.
Now, when you're using our software, your data file can have any number of records. That would mean rows.
Okay.
And then each record or row has fields of data, columns.
Yeah.
You can have, and we have a limit to that, and I forget the limit, I was like 1,500 or something like that, ridiculous. Okay. It's so large. So we work with very large data files.
Okay, yeah. Nice.
So in this case, it's a small data file, just so we can really focus on what we're showing you in training.
Right, just basic, okay.
Yeah. but when you use the software, you can use much larger data files that have many more records and many more fields or columns of data.
Right. I think this project that we're looking at is kind of a medium size, typical catalog.
Okay. So now we can close the data file now that we've seen, and this data file, I should have mentioned this. If you look, there's a character between each of those fields of data. So you have the item number and then you have the list price. There's a character separating the item number and the list price.
Okay, right.
And this could be a comma or it could be a tab. Those are the most commonly used.
Okay.
It actually, with our software, it could be other things like a pipe character or a tilde character.
Okay, and is that, when I export from Excel to the text file, is that where that's established?
So when you have a Microsoft Excel file, if you save it as comma separated, then you would see commas separating the fields of data. If you select tab, you're going to see tabs separating the fields of data.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's why we'll find out if the data file you give you is Excel, then what I'm going to do is I'll look at your document's current setup to know what you should save it as, tab or comma.
Right.
But if what I give you is a tab file or a comma file, then that automatically tells you if it's tab or comma.
Yeah. Is there one that's preferred?
No, there's not. It could be tab, it could be comma. Either one is perfectly fine.
All right.
Yeah. Now, there's also such a thing as what's called a text qualifying character, which we don't have an example of in this particular file. But let's say, for example, let's go to the list price for the very first row, J16, whatever that is. Yeah. Okay, just put your cursor in front of that list price.
Right there?
Now, type a quotation mark, a double quotation mark.
Yeah. Oh.
One, and then the number 1 and a comma. And then at the end where it's .00, put another quotation mark.
Okay.
Those quotation marks are what we would call text qualifiers. And what those double quotation marks are doing is they are qualifying that all the text between them is actually text data. It's not part of the structure of the data file.
Right, it's numbers only.
Whenever you have a field that has a comma as part of the data, that field would have double quotes automatically surrounding it.
Oh, right, so it knows it's not like a trigger to go to the next column, is that?
Yeah, so they know that comma is not a separator.
It's part of the numeral, I guess you'd call it that, or number?
Exactly, it's part of the data.
Data, okay.
So it's not part of the data file structure.
Yeah.
It's actually data.
Right.
It's not a delimiter comma.
So quotes.
So that's called a text qualifier when you have those double quotes.
Okay, quotes around a number, data. Indicates it is data, I guess, versus, what was the other?
Versus a delimiter or separator character.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so that's what a text qualifier is, in case you're not familiar with that terminology.
No, this is new to me. Yeah, perfect, thanks.
So when we do our setup, that's one of the settings that our software is going to detect for you automatically. Does your data file use a text delimiter?
Oh, okay.
So we figure this out for you automatically, but it's just like, you're like, wait, what is that? That's what that is. It's just double quotes, bracketing field data to indicate all the characters within that field are actually data, not part of the structure of the file. It's not separated. So you can, so I've covered type of file. Okay, so now you can close this file without saving any changes to it.
The text file, yeah?
Yeah, okay. So now, back to InDesign. So now we're on how do you do a job? Well, the first thing you do is you would do your setup. Now, I'm assuming since they're giving you everything, it's probably already set up and you don't need to do this.
Yeah.
But I'm going to show you how to do it just in case you should need to.
Sure.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. So what you would do if you should need to do setup is you would go up to the DesignMerge menu at the top. So now when you install DesignMerge Catalog, I should mention this, when you install DesignMerge Catalog, we automatically add a menu to your InDesign menu bar called DesignMerge.
Yes.
And you can access all of your DesignMerge Catalog features from this menu.
Okay.
And you'll see one of the features is to view at the top.
Oh, at the top, okay.
And we have panels that you use to tag content and to update content.
Right.
So we're not going to use those panels right now, but just so you know that they're there.
Okay.
Okay, back to the DesignMerge menu. So next is setup. You would go here anytime you want to do any setup or changes to your settings. So if you were a brand new customer who's never used our software, or brand new documents that have never been tagged by our software, that's when you would need to run setup.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm thinking you're probably not going to need to do setup.
Right.
But once you actually get the files you're going to be working on, we can help you assess whether you need to do setup or not.
Right. Or in case they want if they want a whole new catalog or something, right?
Well, it depends. Let me show you what setup is, and that'll help you understand when you need to run it.
Okay.
So let's go to Setup Data Source Definitions. And now say no. Okay. So, well, click cancel and I'll show you why we said no. I should do that first. So DesignMerge, Setup, Data Source Definitions. Okay, this dialog is telling you that, hey, your document is already set up. It's set up to use a data source called Miles US, but that Miles US setup is not on your computer.
Okay.
Do you want our software to recreate it for you?
I see, right.
So if you open up a document and it says it already has a data source, you don't need to do any setup. All you need to do is have our software recreate the DDF the document's using.
Oh, even if you don't have it. I see.
So if it doesn't exist on your system, then we can put it on your system for you.
Okay.
And the reason we can do that is whenever a data source definition, what we call a DDF, has been set up for a document, in other words, content has been tagged in the document, we store that information about the DDF inside the document file.
Right, like a backup.
Yeah, like a backup.
Mm-hmm.
So when you open the file, we go to look for the DDF that this document says it should be using. And if that DDF is not on your system, then we can show you a dialog that says, hey, this document's already using a DDF. This is the name of the DDF that it's using. It's not on your system. Do you want us to put it on your system for you?
I see, okay.
Let's go ahead and click yes. And then you'll have the DDF that we set up for our tutorials.
Right, so.
But now I'm going to show you how to create a new one. So let me talk about what you see in this dialog first. The current DDF menu shows you the names of the DDFs that are available on your system for use in the document. So you have quite a few that are already on your system.
I see, okay.
Have you already been using our software?
I did, I tried, poking around in the files, I guess, and then it remembers that, eh?
Yeah, it does. Interesting.
Okay. Yeah, didn't know that.
So we'll leave those where they are, and we'll let you decide whether there's something you want to keep or not keep later.
I see, those are the options, okay. So normally I would just see yours, this Miles US.
In our document, we're going to be using Miles US. You notice it has a check mark because that's the one that's currently selected.
Got it, okay.
Now, anytime you want to create a new data source definition, you would okay, so if a document already has tags in it, you want to be careful that you're using the DDF that document was set up to use.
Right.
So the only time you would create a new one is if it's a document that does not have tags, first of all.
Right.
And secondly, it's a document for which you don't already have a DDF set up for use with it.
Right, so these blue lines mean those are tags, right?
That's correct.
Right.
So if your document already has tags, then you want to use the DDF that was set up for those tags.
And if it shows multiple ones like that, will it highlight like this? Will it have it in blue with a check mark for me? Like, will it?
If you have more than one, each tag, if it has multiple what?
Well, it's
multiple DDFs.
I have a list. Like if I open the customer's file now, would it do the same thing? Would it give me a check mark showing me which one of these?
Yeah, I'll show you what it will do. Click cancel.
Yeah.
Okay, and now we've recreated the DDF this document is using.
Oh,
so
right.
let's say you open a customer file and it's using a DDF you already have in your system. So now go to DesignMerge, Setup, Data Source Definitions. When the dialog opens, it automatically shows you in the DDF selection, it's already selected the one this document is using.
Right, like that. Oh, okay, yeah, because I didn't do anything for it to show.
Yeah, you don't even have to open the menu. It just shows you this document's using Miles US.
Got it, okay. That's good.
Yeah, so you'll know which DDF it's using. Most people who use catalog, they only have one DDF and they always use that same DDF on everything.
Right.
But it does depend on the complication of the job.
Okay.
Some people might have more complicated setups, or they might have one DDF for one type of catalog and another DDF for a different type of catalog.
Right, okay.
Because they have different types of data they're bringing in. Okay, so let's say you have a brand new document, it's never been tagged, you don't have a DDF that describes the type of data you're going to be using in the new document. So that's when you would want to create a new DDF. And I'm going to walk you through and show you how to do that so you understand more about what is a DDF.
Yeah.
So let's click new, and then name it training or demo or, trash, so you know this is just for playing around. So you're giving it a name, and then you say okay. So now you've created a new DDF.
Oh, that one's highlighted.
And it's called training DDF.
Right.
But it's not set up. All you did is create it, but it's blank.
Okay.
So to set it up, you click the setup button in the top right corner. Perfect. Now you're getting a warning. You would not see this warning except your document already has tags in it.
Oh, right.
And so we're warning you, hey, if you run setup on this document, you may make the existing links that are being used in your document invalid.
Right.
So if all you're wanting to do is select a different data file, then you should choose select data file instead.
Oh, okay.
Now we're going to actually run setup. It's okay because we're not going to actually use this DDF for the rest of the training. It's just to show you how to do it.
Okay.
So we're going to unusually click yes, but normally you would not continue at that point.
Right, okay.
Okay, so now what they want you to do is to select your data file. So let's choose the miles.txt. Notice we're not choosing the Microsoft Excel sheet. It does need to be a plain text file, not a Microsoft Excel sheet.
Okay.
And then we click open. Okay, so what setup needs to do is it needs to identify the fields that are in each record in the data file. And it's showing them to you in numeric order. Now, if you happen to have the file open in Microsoft Excel, the file would not have the columns labeled by numbers. In Microsoft Excel, it labels the columns with a letter, A, B, C, D.
Oh, right, okay.
So if you would prefer to see these labeled with a letter in this setup dialog, just click that little A checkbox.
Okay.
And we'll label them with a letter so you can match them when you're looking at Microsoft Excel.
Oh, nice, okay.
The only time this appears is in this one dialog. From now on, they'll have a number in front of them.
Okay.
It's just if you want to do a comparison while you're doing your setup.
Right.
So on the top right, we have 7 fields of data.
Yeah.
And then in the list, it lists each field of data and it shows a name for each field of data. Now, where we're getting this name from is we're just reading that very first row of information that was in your data file. And we're assuming that's the names of the fields.
Yeah.
But you can use if that first record doesn't have correct field names, you can change them before you continue.
Okay.
So
it's a quick check.
Yeah, so you could just change 2 to list and 3 to sale, or you can put different names if you want.
Yeah.
And the way that you would change the name is you would just click edit. So you highlight the field name you want to change, and then there's an edit button and you can edit it to give it a more user-friendly name than what the data file might give it.
I see, right. But it would still look for the data file's name. This would just be...
Yeah, so when we do a lookup, if you change the name you're going to call it in catalog, that does not change the field name that's in the data file.
Right.
So what this is it's a map. Yeah. So we're going to have a link called list price, and that list price is going to point to the field, and the field it's pointing to, although it's named list price, to us it's field number 2. So regardless what you call these things in catalog, to us it's numeric.
Right.
So whatever you call your list price link that's pointing to whatever you call your list price field, when we go to look up the data, we're going to say, oh, we want the data from field number 2.
I see, yeah, that's what the system uses.
Yeah, so these names that you're seeing in the setup dialog are nicknames for the actual data in the data file.
Right.
So that makes it nice, so you don't have to use the names that are in the actual data file. You can put user-friendly names here, and even though the user-friendly names you use don't match the actual names that are in the data file, it's not an issue, because what we're actually doing is we're counting the number of fields and then saying, get the data from field number 2.
Oh, okay, right. You can, like if it was a different language maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, or sometimes data files, they just have field names that are weird. So you can make it more user-friendly and easier to identify what data is what. So it's for user convenience.
Yeah.
The other reason this is helpful, not to try to give you too much information, but let's say you get a data file and they rearrange the fields.
Yeah.
You can come in then and rearrange the fields here. You don't have to rerun setup or anything like that.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So, and I'll show you how to do that later. So you don't have to be worried about that. So as long as your data file has the same number of fields in the same order, regardless what you call the fields, you can always still just go and get the data. So let's say I got a data file today and they happen to call this the list price, but I get a revised data file tomorrow and they've changed the field name to US list price. But it's still field number 2. So I can still use the new data file even though the field name in the new data file is different.
I see, okay. You just
as
modify
long as it's still field number 2.
You update it here and then it will work.
Yeah, you don't have to change your DesignMerge catalog settings. It will all still work.
Got it, okay.
So if you get a new data file where they've used a different field name, no big deal. It'll still work as long as it's the same number of fields in the same order for the data.
All right.
Okay, so we got 7 fields of data, and we should expect to see whatever you call the data, an item number type data in the first field, list price type data in the second field, sale price type data in the third field, UK list price and UK sale price and quantity and picture, whatever they happen to call it. That's the type of data we expect in each of those fields.
Okay.
Now on the bottom left are some other important settings. The data type. That's telling us what type of file is this. Does it have ASCII encoded text or does it have UTF-8 encoded text?
Right.
And as I mentioned earlier, this is just simply text, how text is encoded in a text file. If it's ASCII encoded, you have up to 256 characters that can be coded. If it's UTF-8, it runs into the thousands because it includes like Japanese characters and everything else.
Oh, okay, so that's...
So it's just a type of character set. Is it ASCII characters or UTF-8 characters?
So ASCII is 256? Is that what you said?
If you choose auto detect,
Yeah.
we'll figure it out for you.
Oh, okay, perfect. So that's
so
common.
just go with auto detect, and then you don't have to be worried about, oh, I wonder what type of character encoding they're using in this data file. Don't worry about it. Just say auto detect, and then we'll figure it out for you.
Nice.
File origin. This tells us, does the file come from a Windows system, a Mac system, or a Unix system? The reason that information is important is because each of these operating systems use a different type of character as a line ending character. Line ending characters tell us when one data record stops and the next one starts. It's your record delimiter. And Windows uses one kind of line ending, Macs use a different kind of line ending, and Unixes use another kind of line ending. So we have to know what kind of line ending character is being used, so we know when one record stops and the next one starts.
Okay.
Again, you should just choose auto detect, because that way we figure it out for you.
Okay.
So we try to make this as simple as possible for the user.
Okay, got it.
For the field delimiter, that's the setting I'm going to be checking when we get your real documents to see if the setup's already done. So what Quick Setup does is it looked at the file and it determined this is a tab delimited file. And as you look at the list, you can see all the different types of delimiting files we can use. We can use a tab delimited file, comma separated file, space separated file, etc.
Okay.
Again, the most common is tab delimited and comma separated.
Right, but that's not auto detect, so that one is the one you have to look.
No, it auto detected, it's tab delimited.
Oh, I see, right.
So what I'll do is once you get your real jobs, we can look at your DDF settings to know whether your files are going to be tab or comma. So you know if they send you a Microsoft Excel file, should you save it as tab or comma?
I see.
Should you save it as tab or comma depends on how the document's been set up.
Right. You want to keep it consistent.
So if the document is set up to be tab, then you're going to save it as a tab in Microsoft Excel.
Got it. Okay.
Because that's part of our setting. So we want to make sure when you're saving a file from Excel that you're saving it in a format that your DDF expects.
Sure. Yeah.
So in our case, this DDF is expecting a tab file, but regardless, this is a new DDF. So this new DDF is just looking at the file and saying, what type of file is this? Oh, it's a tab file. So it's figuring that out for you.
I see. Okay. It's already figured it out.
Yeah, and then text qualifier setting. I don't know why that's set to none. Didn't we change that? Didn't we? We didn't save that file with that change, did we?
Gee, that's the text edit file?
Yeah. Miles.txt. I thought we did not save it.
I closed it, and maybe this one here.
Oh, it auto-saved.
Oh.
So the reason it's saying it has a double quote is because we made that change. Let's put that back to 1003.
Right, that changed there, right? Yeah, I know.
It auto-changed. We just got rid of the tab. That's not good. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? So what was it before?
And let's get rid of the comma.
That's what it was, a comma and the one, right? Is that it?
Yeah, so you're going to have to be careful that if you're using this text edit application, notice it's doing an auto save on you.
Right. So now if I go to close that, and then
now go back to the refresh list. Yeah,
see it changed it again. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll close it. Now on your setup list, now click on the refresh list. No, we're going to have to cancel and rerun setup. So click cancel, click setup, click miles.txt, click yes, we know that, but it's okay, the pre-training. And then text file, and now click open.
Go back to the Miles text?
Yep.
Yeah.
And click open. There we go.
Yeah.
So text qualifier is set to none.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Because that's correct. We're not using one.
I found it.
But if you were using one, it would have automatically detected it.
I see.
So this setup assumes the data file is not using any text qualifier characters.
Got it. Okay. Interesting.
Now for empty link on the far right. When we go to update linked text, what we call a tag or a placeholder, if the data file doesn't have any data for that placeholder or a tag in the document, we need to know what should it display.
Right.
It was an empty price in the data file. So what price should we show in the document? Now, this setting that you see here applies to all of them. So if you were to tag an item number, the setting would apply. If you were to tag a sale price, the setting would apply. So this setting applies to all of them. So it's like your default setting. So by default, it's going to show an error message in the document if there's no data for that particular link in the document. So if there's no list price, there's no sale price, no UK list price. When you go to update that list price, sale price, UK list price, that tag in the document will show an error, so you know that, oops, that was empty in the data file. You need to go find out what's going on.
Right. So that link means the data link, not an image link. Like for a picture.
The empty link, it could be the picture.
Oh, could be.
So if I have a picture link in my document, and the record doesn't have that, the picture link in the document is pointing to a record in the data file, and that record in the data file, its picture field is empty. It doesn't have any information in it.
Right.
Then what do I want to have happen to that picture link in my document?
Right. So it applies to the prices and the pictures.
This setting applies to all the fields you see listed here.
Got it. 1 to
7. It's your default setting for all of them. And by default, they're going to be set to show an error when you update them.
Yeah.
If the data doesn't have any, if the data file doesn't have any data for them.
Yeah.
By default, they'll show an error. Now we have other choices, but I would not use them at this time. That's more for more experienced users or more sophisticated jobs.
Yes.
That you could say, oh, you know what, don't update them, just ignore them, leave them like they are.
Yeah.
Or, delete them, I don't want them in the document at all. Notice if you delete them, then they're permanently gone. The only way you can get it back is to type some sample text in the document and re-tag it.
Yeah.
So delete is a very permanent situation.
Yeah.
And then substitute is where you can say, oh, if they're empty, here's what I want them to say.
Right.
We're gonna just leave them to error.
Yeah.
So what's gonna happen is if any of them don't receive any data from the data file, they're going to say empty field. You see that in that dim.dot field there. Do you see that?
Oh, down here.
To the right of the word error, there's an empty field.
Oh, so that's what the error will put in.
Yeah.
Okay.
That you set up that error in your preferences.
Oh, okay.
So if you wanted to say something besides empty field, you would just change your preference.
Right. Okay. Sure. Different language, whatever. Yeah. All right.
Okay. So we're going to set them to say error. So those are your settings. How many fields? What names do you want to use, and what order are they in? What's the data type? What's the file origin? What's the field delimiter? What's the text qualifier? And by default, what do you want to have happen when they're empty?
Got it. Okay, that's the setup.
Cool. And then you click OK. And then now you've set it up.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to use the DDF that we actually have set up for this job. So let's delete this one. So click delete. And it's a button there.
Yeah.
Yep. And let's go to the current DDF and choose Miles US. That's the one we actually want to use.
Right, okay.
Okay. Now you can edit this database definition whenever you need to. And let me show you what that means. Click edit. So let's say you get a new data file.
Yeah.
And it's got a different format. It's still text, but change the data type to ASCII, from ASCII to auto detect. Because when we set up this DDF, it was before we had the auto detect feature.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's the
So
difference.
let's put it to auto detect.
Sure.
Notice there's a search, so there's a change we're making right away. Notice the search key field. That's telling us what field of data is being used for the search keys. And this has been set to use the item number field. When you do a setup, we automatically choose the first field. It might not be the first field. So you would want to come in here and make a change to tell us what field is your search key field.
Okay.
But by default, we do want to use the item number field that we see here. Notice we're using a case-sensitive search. So if you entered for your key lowercase k 11-002, we wouldn't find it. Because we're doing a case-sensitive search. So for the search key, you have to assign uppercase K for us to find it.
So what search is this for? Search key.
When we're searching up the data.
Oh.
So it's your search key. Remember, when you put a price tag in the document, you're going to assign a search key, and we're going to use that search key to find the row in the data file.
Oh, okay.
So your search key is telling us which row to pull the data from.
All right.
And we're going to assign the item numbers as our search keys. So it's going to search for an item number in the item number field to know which row to pull the data from.
Oh, right. The first. And
when it searches for that item number, it's going to be a case-sensitive search.
Got it. Right.
So for that very first one, if you assign the item number lowercase k 11-002, we would not find it.
Right.
It has to be uppercase K.
Right. It'll filter
for us to find it. Because in the data file, it's uppercase K, 11. So it's a case-sensitive search. So we're going to use our item number to search to know which row to pull the data from.
Right.
And it's going to be a case-sensitive search when we go to match those item numbers from what you assigned in the document to what's in the data file. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Hooray. Okay. Now for your field delimiter, it knows it's a tab. Now let's say they give you a new data file, and the old data file is tab delimited, but the new data file is comma separated.
Right. So you just change
Don't run setup. All you have to do is come in here and edit and change it from tab to comma.
I see. Okay.
So you can change any setting you wish after you've done your setup.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what we recommend. If you've already got tags in your documents, you don't want to run setup, because that might make the tags in the document invalid. What you want to do instead, if you need to make a change to your DDF, is to choose this edit button and do it manually, one by one.
Oh, right, okay.
So your tags that are in your document can stay valid.
Okay.
So if all my former data files were tab, but now going forward they're going to be comma, I can just come in here and change it from tab to comma, and then it will work going forward.
Yeah, okay.
For your file origin, that should be set to auto detect. We'll figure out what system made the file. Your text qualifier is set to none because this data file that we ran setup on did not have any text qualifier characters.
Right.
This is another setting you might need to change in the future. So you've done your setup and it doesn't expect any text qualifiers. But now, next month, they give you a new data file, and lo and behold, the new data file is using them.
Yeah.
Rather than run setup anew, which could break your tags in your document, all you have to do is come in here and change the setting from none to double quote.
Okay.
For the new data file.
Right.
Okay, below that we have two special features, and I'm assuming you're not going to be using them. But I'll tell you what they are just in case.
Right.
So we have what we call a trans table feature. It's a translation table. What it will do is single character conversions on the fly when updating tags in your document. So let's say my data file has, I want to change all the lowercase a characters in my data file to be an uppercase A character when they come into the document. So rather than having to go into my data file and make that change in my data file, I can apply a translation table that will do it automatically for me. So whenever a placeholder is bringing in data that has a lowercase a in the document, it would appear as an uppercase A.
Okay.
So it's single character conversion on the fly while updating a document.
Nice, okay.
So it's for special cases. You probably aren't going to need to ever use this.
Got it, yeah.
The export trans table. We have an optional module you can add to catalog. So catalog, a standard installation of catalog allows you to update content. If you add our optional data exporter module,
yeah,
you can export content from the document to create a data file.
Ah.
It does the opposite.
Yeah.
Instead of bringing data from a data file into the document, it takes the data in the document and exports it to a data file format.
Okay.
So you don't have export, and that's why it says it's unavailable.
Right.
Okay. Now you have your DEF search path. That has to do with picture links, and we're not going to use it, so we can ignore it.
Okay.
It's just where should we search for graphics when we go to update pictures.
Oh, okay. Right.
Now, if you click on the fields button, these are your fields.
Yeah.
And this is how they're named.
Yeah.
And this is the order we expect to see them in.
Yeah.
So sometimes you need to have them in a different order. So in my current data file, in my original data file, they were in this order. But let's say you get a new data file and they are in a different order.
Yeah.
Perhaps the UK prices come before the US prices. So in that case, what you would have to do is you would have to change the order that you see them listed here.
Right. Okay.
Now, it's admittedly not easy to do this because, and that's on purpose, the developers don't want people to do this very easily because you can mess stuff up so badly.
Oh.
So we make you work at it to do it. But what you would have to do is you would have to insert a new field, give it where you want the new field to be, or add a new field at the bottom.
Right.
You have to name them by using the edit button. It's just admittedly not easy to do.
It's not like move up, move down kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because we
right.
don't want people to accidentally do it because then they're going to mess it all up.
Right.
So you just accidentally hit an up or down button, and when you go to update, the wrong data is going to come in, and you're going to be like, what's wrong?
Right, you make it more deliberate this way. Okay.
So yeah, so it has to be a very deliberate thing for you to rearrange the fields.
Yeah.
If it's something you should ever need to do, because you're like, hey, I got my old data file, I got a new data file, and it has new fields, or it has less fields, or the fields are in a different order, I would suggest you just open a support ticket and let us help you.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, but we purposely make it difficult just to avoid user errors that were unintended.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's your field list. That's what we expect the data to be in. Oh, now we have variable links. If you click the variable link button, Setup made a variable link for each field, and it gave the variable link the same name as the field. The variable links are in the list on the left. When you click a variable link name on the left, you see its settings on the right. Each of these variable links is pointing to a field of the same name. Notice you can change that, interestingly. You would normally never change that, but for more sophisticated jobs, people might need a variable link to point to a different field than it did originally.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime, it's not a common, it's a rare, but sometimes we'll get a support ticket because they'll be like, my variable link is pulling the data from the wrong field.
Yeah.
And the reason is because the people came in here and they accidentally changed the field setting, but they didn't mean to.
Oh, okay.
So you want to pay attention to that field setting to make sure that that variable link is pointing to the correct field.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you can swap them, eh? So make that.
Yeah, because for sophisticated jobs, some people need to be able to do that.
Right. Without having to recreate
Now,
the data file.
Yeah. Now, to the right of the field setting is a lock checkbox. That does not lock the variable link so you can no longer edit it. What it does is it locks the link from updating. So if I did put any item number tags in my document, they would never update because I've locked them.
Oh, okay.
So normally you don't ever lock these, so let's unlock it. There you go. Notice when you locked it, you saw a little asterisk on the, so it could be a cue to you that it's got a special setting on it.
Okay.
All right, so ready for the next is type. So here's where you're telling us what type of data are you bringing in for the item numbers.
Right.
It's text data, so you want to leave that set to text. I'll show you the others in a second, but for now it's all of these are text except for one. So you want to leave this set to text.
Okay.
And notice when it's a text type, you have some settings you can put on it. You can put a filter and you can put a color.
Oh.
So for the filter, what this is in your data file, the text is in a plain text format, you know, A through Z, 0 through 9.
Yeah.
But one of the features you can do is you can put what we call tagged text.
Yeah.
So if the data is in a tagged text format, then the data includes what's called tags, and those tags give styling information, like make it bold.
Right. Okay. Good.
And so if your data file has tags in it, which means it has styling information in a tagged format inside the data field, then we need to know what text filter that data should go to for that tag text to be processed by InDesign when the text is placed in the document. Is it InDesign tag text? Is it RTF tag text? We have a thing called MPS tags, which is like an abbreviated format of InDesign tags.
Oh, okay. That's yours.
I don't know if the Inkscape data is going to have any tags in it.
Yeah.
But if it does, and you need more information about it, we'll just deal with it with a support ticket where you say, hey, I need more information about tags because my data does have them. And in training, we only covered it in a simple manner.
Right.
Because I'm going to assume your data does not have tags in it.
Got it.
It's really unusual for data to have tags in it because it takes quite a bit of effort to get those tags in the data file.
Oh, right.
To type them in.
Right.
Most data is not going to have tags in it. So normally your filter setting should be none. And just a heads up, if you tell us to pass the data through a filter and that data doesn't have any tags for us to filter, then your data may come into the document with a weird character format.
I had this problem, reminds me of, I did the IKEA flyer. You know, when you go into IKEA, they have a little 8-page flyer there, like a paper.
Yes.
And I had a lot of trouble bringing in the data from the Excel to InDesign and getting those styling attributes to the text. I couldn't figure out where it was coming from, so that could have been it.
Yeah, if your Microsoft Excel file was set up as a delimited text file, not Microsoft Excel, and it had tags in it, it has, the filter does stuff automatically in the background, and so you have to make sure if you are putting tags in your data file, those are tags that filter fully supports. And if there are no tags, who knows what that filter is going to do to that data.
Right.
So using tags is a more sophisticated feature. We provide that feature because some people absolutely need it. Let's say, for example, you have a copyright symbol in the middle of a product name, and you want the copyright to be in a superior style, but you don't want the whole name to be in a superior style, just that one symbol. Then you're going to have to put a tag before the copyright symbol that says, change the format to superior. And then you're going to have to put a tag after it to say, okay, go back to the previous styling. So the rest of the text is not in superior. So there are cases where you just could not update this data unless we provided this feature.
Right. That's
But
like the old.
it does require, a more complicated setup and a lot more testing to make sure it's gonna work the way you want.
Sure. Okay,
But
good.
most basic jobs do not use tags, and so your setting would be none.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Okay, link color. We can change the color of the underscores.
Oh, this blue
Our
here.
default underscore color is blue. Well, it's a MPS blue. It's not even shown with a name, it's just our default color. But you can choose other colors if you want.
Yeah.
So if I tag the item number, it could have an orange underscore. If I tag the list price, it could have the default color.
Yeah.
If I tag a sale price, it can have a red underscore. So just by looking at the document and the underscore, I know what type of variable link is assigned to that spot in the document.
Oh, that's what it's for. Okay.
Yeah. So it helps you to identify which variable link is assigned to the content. It's kind of a cool feature. We can use it for these if you want. So for list price, let's leave that to default. So choose list price on the left.
Sorry. Oh yeah. Okay. If I go to, so each one can have a
Leave
different
it to
color.
Default color. Now choose sale price.
Yeah. Sale price. Oh, here. Yeah.
And let's make it green. Change the link color to green. I stay away from red because we automatically use red to let you know if it's locked.
Oh. Okay.
So I would normally not use red. Okay, so we have blue for the list price and green for the sale price. And you'll see the result of that after we close out.
Yeah.
So let's go back now to our item number variable link so I can continue showing the settings. Okay, so we discussed filter and link color for text links.
Yeah.
Leave it set to text and we'll discuss the others later.
Mm-hmm.
Now your data options. So the settings above were settings for that variable link. Now we also have data options. When this variable link brings data in, do you want this variable link to do anything special? For example, the variable link can add a prefix or suffix to the data that is bringing in from the file.
Yeah.
Where people might use this is, for example, on the item number, maybe in the data file, it's got your constant item number, but in the catalog page, you needed to add a prefix or a suffix that indicates that particular issue of catalog.
Right, okay.
Like -22. So maybe all the item numbers should be appended with -22 in the document.
Yeah, right.
But in the data file, it's the constant item number that's across all issues.
Mm-hmm.
So we can add that prefix or suffix for you. It doesn't have to be in the data file.
Oh, and it tags it with a little P or S up here.
So you know that it's adding a prefix or suffix to the data that's coming from the data file.
Okay.
So this prefix or suffix will not come from the data file, but it will be shown by the variable link in the document, and it'll be appended to whatever data came from the data file for that variable link.
Right, okay.
Next, we have our empty link setting. So by default, these have all been set to show an error. But notice for each one, you can change it to have it do something else. And we're going to come back and play with that later.
Right, okay.
And now we have missing asset. This is a new feature, so you won't find it in our documentation. But what it is like, let's say you're doing graphic files for pictures. You can tell us what you want to have happen if that picture could not find its file when you went to update it.
Oh, okay. So the empty link, so this is in the data file, and this one is, what's the difference?
We cannot find the graphic file for a picture link.
Oh, for a picture link. Okay, got it. Missing asset.
Yeah. And we're going to play with all these settings later. I just wanted you to get the lay of the land.
Right.
So your variable link points to a field. It's locked or not to say whether it should be updated or not.
Mm-hmm.
It has a data type associated to it. So we know if it's a text, picture, article, or a group picture. We're not going into article or group pictures with this training. That's advanced features. We're just doing text or picture. The data options, do you want us to add any prefix or suffix to the data that comes from the data file before that variable link puts it in the document? And then what should we do if it's empty? And then for pictures, we have this missing asset that says what to do if the variable link can't find the file that picture link says it should use.
Right. Okay, good.
That's the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want you to click on the picture variable link in the list on the left, because we didn't discuss that yet. So here, notice the type is set to picture.
Okay, the type here.
Yep, type is set to picture.
Yeah.
And look at the settings you can choose when it's a picture link.
Oh.
You can tell us how to size and position the pictures.
Oh, nice. Right.
Now, keep frame settings is the only one that might need discussing. What that will do is whatever InDesign's default setting is. So when you do file place in that picture frame, how does InDesign place it?
Oh. Okay, nice.
So DesignMerge catalog doesn't do anything on top of what InDesign does by default.
Right. You get to pick it here though.
But now if you open the fitting and you choose size to fit, open the fitting menu. If you choose any of the others, for example, choose size to fit,
Yeah.
then what happens is when we go to update a picture link, InDesign does its default thing, and then on top of that, we do size to fit.
Oh, right, okay. So keep
So
frame
that's
settings.
whenever we update
Right.
a picture link, InDesign does whatever it's going to do when we bring that picture into the document, and then we put your fitting setting on top of whatever InDesign does by default.
Okay. That's something you gotta
Does
play
that make
around
sense?
with. Yeah, I always get confused by those settings. I have to try them out.
Yeah, but only if the documents you're going to be doing are using pictures. If they're not updating pictures, you can just ignore this, right?
Of course, yeah. I don't know that yet.
And then we have the special alignment features that we've recently added to enhance our software. Because, for example, if people were using size to fit, they still might want it to be vertically aligned to the left, not centered.
Wow.
So you can change the alignment. So it just gives you more fine tuning on where the picture will be positioned on top of whatever fitting setting you've chosen.
Yeah, lots of variables there.
Yeah, and that's because we have customers who have asked for these, and that's how these features get in our software.
Yeah.
We're very customer driven.
Yeah, the feedback.
So if we have, customers that need a feature, if it's something we can add, we do.
Sure. Yeah. Good.
So now we've discussed everything. Like I said, we're not going to cover articles or group pictures because those are more professional or experts or you probably won't be using those.
Advanced.
They're special features of the software that you probably won't be using.
Yeah.
So now we're covered. So let's click cancel. Do I want to click cancel? Let's click OK.
Yeah, because we made that green
to
change,
apply
right?
those. Yeah, we made the change on the underscores, didn't we? List price is default and sale price is green.
Yes. Right. We say OK.
Okay. All right, so that's your variable link settings.
Yeah.
Back to our edit data source definition. What other settings are in your data source definition? So we had at the top, those are your data file settings. And then we looked at your fields and we looked at your variable links. There's two more, price style and search criteria. I'm assuming you won't be using these, but if you click price style, we can format prices when we bring them into the document.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's a pretty cool feature. So the default does nothing. Let's choose display and you can see what it does. So for your display, it's gonna be a smart price. So at the bottom of the dialog, see the smart price options turned on?
Mm-hmm.
So if the price that's coming in has a $1 or more dollar digits, and it has 2 or more cent digits, so it has a dollar digit and it has cent digits, then what we're gonna do is, if you look at the top, we're gonna build the price, and we're gonna remove the dollar, and we're gonna put the cent, we're gonna remove the dot, the radix, which is that decimal. We're gonna put the cent in superior. We're gonna add a dollar currency symbol, which will be in superior before the price data.
Oh, and kern it too, eh? Wow.
Yeah.
And you can make it smaller if you want. That's cool.
Exactly.
Very nice.
You can put a specific point size for the dollar. If you choose no dollars for the smart price, so it's kind of like 3 price styles in one at the bottom where it says smart price. Right now you're looking at the dollars and cents smart price for display. If you choose no dollars, what will the display price style do? Well, the display price style will say, oh, this has a 0 for the dollar digit. It has to be some digit, but it's a 0 for the dollar digit.
Yeah.
So if the price has a 0 for the dollar digit, then notice at the top, then the display price style will show cents only with a cent currency symbol after the price, and it'll be at 50% size and offset for that cent symbol.
Nice, yeah. So that would
So
vary.
it's like
Yeah.
3 styles in one. It looks at what type of price is coming in to decide how to style it when
Yeah.
it's a smart price.
Huh.
So the smart price menu, now choose no cents. At the bottom where it says no dollars. What if the price has zeros for the cent digits? It's a .00 price.
Right.
Then if you look above, we're going to show the dollar digits only.
Yeah.
The top where it says it says dollars only at the very top. You see that? We're going to show the dollar digits only. We're going to put a currency symbol of $1 in front of that.
Oh, up here, yeah, right, okay, yeah, dollar, okay. The size.
And yeah, exactly.
Point
So
size.
when you choose smart price, it's like the price style depends on what data is coming in.
Right.
You can style each of those different types of data differently with the same price style. It's like a smart price style.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a nice little feature. I'll show you how to do it and how to use it in our tutorial. We're going to use that display price style.
Sure.
So that's price style. It's a built-in feature of our software. Say okay or cancel. Okay, last search criteria. There are cases where, it's on the very bottom, search criteria, another built-in feature of our software. There are cases where the search key might not be unique in the data file. And if that's the case, you need to give us additional search criteria to find out which record should the data come from. And I'm going to go into this more detail when it happens in the document.
Okay.
But search criteria is something that is a feature of our software. The only people who use it are when the search key's in the data file, there might be more than one record with the same search key.
Oh, right, okay.
And they need to use search criteria so we know which row to pull the price from.
Okay. That's to zone it in, right? Okay.
And we'll look at that in more detail later.
Okay.
But just so you know, aware it's there. So that's all of these are part of the settings of the DDF.
Yes.
What does the data file look like? That's those settings you see in this dialog.
Yeah.
What number of fields and what order are they in? Which variable links do I have that are pointing to which fields and what are the variable link settings? What are my price styles and what are my search criteria? All of that's settings in your DDF.
Okay.
We'll click OK. And now let's click OK. And now whenever you go into that data source dialog and you click OK,
yeah,
we replace the DDF settings that were stored in the document with a new set of settings. And we update the settings that are stored in the document. So you'll notice if you look at your InDesign tab, it's indicating your document's been changed. There's a little asterisk in front of the file name in the tab.
Oh, up here, yeah, right.
So it's been changed.
So I have to
file save.
Hit save on that.
And that saves the new DDF settings in the document.
Right.
So now this document is using updated settings.
So the DDF is also a separate file that gets updated then?
Well, that's kind of complicated. So yes, on your system, in your InDesign preferences, we have don't look at it.
Okay.
It's internal.
Oh.
So on your system, in your InDesign preferences, we have a special folder that contains all of our internal information that we're using. And one of the pieces of internal information that we're using are what are your DDFs and what are each of those DDF settings.
Right.
So first of all, there's a copy on your system, and that's actually the copy that we're using, the settings on your system. But we put a backup copy in the document.
Okay.
So when you made a change to your DDF, we changed the settings that are stored on your system in your InDesign preferences for us, but we also changed the backup copy that's in the document.
I see, right. That's a good idea.
Yeah. So you have a backup in the document.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now notice in the document, your sale price has a green underscore.
I saw that, yeah. What was the other thing we
So
changed?
just by looking at your document, I know which ones have a list price assigned to them versus which ones have a sale price assigned to them.
Right, that's a double check, I guess, too, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
Huh.
Yeah, I recently did a tagging service for another company, and I used this feature so I could easily see which ones had I tagged and how to help me do quality check while I was doing the tagging.
Sure, yeah, that would be a nice feedback.
It's kind of a helpful feature.
Yeah.
All right.
Did you say we changed another aspect of the DDF, or like we made this green? Did we do anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
That's all we did.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So we've really gone into a lot of detail about what is a DDF, what does the data file look like, what is the DDF, and what are all the settings in the DDF.
Right.
This is all just background. It's not information you're going to use on a daily basis.
I understand.
It's just background so you can understand what the software is doing.
Yeah, when I looked at it myself, I was wondering about all that stuff in there.
Yeah.
So now
so you have an understanding of what it's doing.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so now what we're going to go into is how do you tag text for updating? This is the more fun, interactive part where you're using the software.
More InDesign.
So when you want to tag text, you need to use your tag tool. And let's zoom in on that table on the left, K11002 and K11006.
Oh, here? Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, we can see it good now. Okay, so when we're going to tag this content, we're going to use our DesignMerge catalog panel. To see the DesignMerge catalog panel, go up to the DesignMerge menu and choose DesignMerge View, Show DesignMerge Panel. Yep.
Yeah, I have it open. I have it docked over here on the right.
Okay, could you undock it and pull it over onto the document page so I can see it? Perfect.
Sure.
Okay. So yeah, you're welcome to work with it docked. It's just for training. I'd like to be able to see what you're doing with it.
Yeah, it's
okay. In the document, you want to highlight the text that you want to turn into a DesignMerge catalog tag or placeholder. To do that, you want to highlight the price 000.00. We're not going to tag the item numbers.
Okay, the price.
We're going to tag the price, right?
Yeah, got it.
Okay, now on the panel, there's two settings you must put on that highlighted text. You have to assign a search key and you have to assign a variable link.
Mm-hmm.
So for your search key, you need to type in. So put your type cursor in there, remove all that, and type in uppercase K 11-002. And in your variable link menu below that, choose list price.
Right.
And we're not going to use any rules. We're going to cover that later. Okay. We're not using search criteria. We're not using price styles. Now, below that is some notes. Do you see that?
Yeah.
You don't want to put notes on your placeholders unless it's just something that you can't do the job any other way but. Because notes are very hard to manage and to maintain and to update and to get rid of. So I would highly recommend you not use the notes field unless there's a special case. So you would want to make sure that notes field stays blank.
Right, okay.
That it's empty. And you won't see invisible characters. So if you want to confirm it's still blank, just put your type cursor in there and in the notes field and click backward and forward. It shouldn't go anywhere.
Make sure there's no spaces and like that, right?
Yeah, you don't want anything in there.
Okay.
Now the same is true. Now if the notes is a pop-up, notice you can choose A keys instead. That's a special feature of our exporter software.
Yeah.
And again, you want to make sure there's no A keys in here. So click in there and make sure that's empty.
I see. Okay.
And now go back to notes.
Yeah.
So at the start of this, we've confirmed when you use the panel, it's empty. You just want to make sure it's always empty. All right? Okay. So now we're going to assign a search key and we're going to assign a variable link and everything else is set to none, off, or empty.
Right. So that's the basics.
And now click assign. And you've made that a variable link that can be updated.
Oh, nice.
Now the underscore looks red just because you have it highlighted in the document. If you click off of it, you'll notice it's actually blue. All right.
Right.
So that's one way to put a placeholder in the document. You highlight the text, let's highlight the one below it. And then on the panel, you have to type in the number. Well, you might not want to type in the item number as the search key. So another way to do this is to copy paste. So in the document,
Yeah.
if the item number is in the document, you can copy it to your clipboard.
Right, and just go in here
And now on the panel, you can just paste it in.
like that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that way you know, yeah, but you gotta make sure then you have highlighted the price you wanna, yeah,
Do that
Exactly.
and then assign.
yeah. Now click remove. Here's another way to do this. So go back in there and click remove on the panel and that unlinks it, by the way. So
Okay.
now go back to, click on the K11002 price so I can change what the panel's showing. Not the item number, the price, the K11002 price. Yeah, okay. So notice the panel is saying K11002. Now highlight the price below it that we want to tag. Notice the panel still says, of course, K11002.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. Now in the document, highlight K11006.
Right.
Copy it to your clipboard.
Right.
Highlight the price for K11006.
Mm-hmm.
On the panel, do you see the little rubber stamp?
Yeah.
Okay, don't click it. If you
Okay.
did click it, we would paste your clipboard in here. But we can also paste and auto assign at the same time.
Oh.
So what you do is you make sure the panel is showing what you want below a search key. It's got the settings you want to assign. List price, no rule, no search, no price, everything else is none or empty.
Yeah.
And now when you go to click that rubber stamp,
Yeah.
hold down your control key or command key. Hold down your command key and then click it while the command key is there.
Oh.
And not only do we paste that
Oh.
copied search key, but we also assign it at the same time. So you don't have to paste, click, assign, paste, click, assign. You can just
Oh.
command, click,
Okay.
and we'll paste, assign all in once for you.
Okay, I'll make
It's
a
just
note
like a
of
little
that.
shortcut. So there will be times in your documents where you may need to assign placeholders like this. You have to do them one by one, individually. And the only way to do that is to type the search key or paste the search key to do your assignment,
Sure.
right? You just highlight the text you want to make variable.
Yeah.
And then you just have to type or paste, choosing the correct variable link and other settings, and then click assign. So, because you're doing each one by one.
Right.
But if your content is laid out in the document in a tab delimited format or an InDesign table format, there's a way that you can do these all at once much faster.
Sure.
So I'm going to show you how to do that next.
Okay.
So one way is to assign them individually like I just showed you. Now I'm going to show you how to do a whole table all at once.
Okay.
So
This here.
in this EtherStar transceivers table, for example,
Yeah.
highlight all the rows that have prices you want to tag. So we want to highlight R34-140 all the way through the very last one. Yep, you got it. So you have all the rows highlighted that you want to tag.
Right.
Each of these rows has the item number you want to assign.
Yeah.
Each of these rows has the prices you want to tag.
Right.
So our software can read that selected content and process it to do the assignment programmatically for you.
Oh, nice.
And we call that feature Table Tagger.
Okay.
Now, your DesignMerge catalog panel is in single tag mode. To put it in Table Tagger mode, you click that little single T that you see on the left,
Oh, here. Yeah.
and it puts it in Table Tagger mode.
Oh, okay.
When you're in Table Tagger mode, you're not entering a search key value. Instead, you're telling us what column has the search keys you want us to assign. In our case, it is the first column. Now, what column do you want to put the placeholders in?
First column. Okay.
So for your, let's
second, right?
choose column 3.
3. Okay.
And there's going to be list price placeholders.
Oh, right over here, right? Okay.
Uh,
Oh,
List
right,
price.
right. Yeah, yeah. And
no
then,
rule, no search criteria, no price element notes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Click assign.
Nice. Okay, so.
And now let's tag the sale prices. So the search key is still the first column. For your placeholder column, change that to column 4.
Right, next one.
And for your variable length, change that to sale price.
Oh, right.
Everything else should stay the same, none or nothing, and click assign.
There we go. Nice.
So it allows you to tag things much more quickly.
Right.
It also avoids user error regarding what is the search key, because we figure it out programmatically.
Yeah, right.
You don't have to enter the search key, we figure it out for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that avoids user errors too.
Yeah.
Now, I just showed you how to use it on a table. You can also do it on tab delimited text. So go up to see where it says K11-002, K11-006, highlight all that content, both rows.
Yeah.
Click remove on the panel to unlink them.
Oh, okay. Remove. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not in the design table, but notice the text is in lines that are tabbed. There's a tab
Right.
Yeah, piece of information, and there has to be a line ending character between the rows.
Yeah, paragraph return.
And when it is, we can read that tab delimited text as though it was a table.
Ah, nice.
So the item numbers in the first column, your placeholder column, you could just choose last column.
Oh, okay.
And then your variable length should be list price, and click assign.
Right.
So if your document has content laid out in a tab delimited table format,
Yeah.
or it is in an actual InDesign table, you can use table tagger to, 1, tag a lot of these very quickly,
Yeah.
but 2, also to be more assured that the correct search key is getting assigned. And to show you that, on your catalog panel, let's take it out of table tagger mode and put it back into single tag mode.
Yeah.
And now if you look at the panel, there's some forward and backward buttons. And it's after update, there's a forward button.
Here, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so go backwards, previous.
Oh.
And when you select a placeholder in the document, the panel shows you what settings are on it.
Oh, and it changes, yeah, right. Oh, okay.
Do that in the table down below and you can see it even change list price. And what's really cool is that the colored lines change too, from blue to green.
Right.
So you can use the panel to see what settings you put on any of these.
Ah, right. After you do the batch there, what do you call it? The tab, this one here?
Yeah, the panel is one way to see what settings you put on them.
Yeah. Huh.
So like an interactive way to see it. We can also run reports, which I'll show you later. Okay, file save to save the changes we made to this document. So there's 2 ways to tag content. 1, individually, by using the panel in single tag mode, which means you're entering the search key yourself.
Yeah.
Or 2, table tagger mode, where we can figure out the search keys and do more than 1 column of placeholders at a time.
Got it. That's nice, yeah.
That's how you tag.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to move on to updating. I gotta watch my time, I'm kind of running late here.
12:36,
Okay,
yeah.
so for updating, you can update these individually. You can update a multiple selection of them. You can update 1 or more pages in the document. And you can update with a report on the update.
Okay.
So that's what I'm going to show you next.
All right.
So if you want to update one individually, then put your text cursor in any one of them. So like for K11002, just put your cursor in that list price. And notice you don't have to be careful about selecting. Just get your cursor in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Not at the front of it, not at the end of it, but you do want to click inside the middle of it.
Sure.
But if your cursor is flashing in it, you've targeted it.
Oh.
You could even just highlight 1 or 2 characters in it and you've targeted it,
Oh,
okay? All right, so you've targeted that placeholder. Now on the panel, click update. Now if you've never selected the data file, then it will ask you to choose the data file.
right.
That's miles.txt.
Yeah.
Once you've selected it, you won't have to do that again.
Oh, okay.
And there's your price.
Right. And it just does that one price.
Because only that one was targeted.
Right.
Let's do it. You can undo this. So go to the InDesign edit menu and choose undo.
Oh,
You can undo any of the things you've done with DesignMerge.
nice.
So now highlight both of those. Command A will do the trick. And now click update on the panel.
Oh, does both, sure.
Yeah, so you can update them a single selection or a multiple selection.
Hmm.
Now, it used to be you could also do it by frames. So let's try that. Take your selection tool.
Yeah.
And that's your text tool. In InDesign, choose your selection tool.
Direct
And
selection.
select
yeah.
the frame that has K11002 and
Yeah.
the table below it too.
So both.
So we have 2 frames selected and click update on the panel. Did that work? Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So
How much?
you can use your type tool to select them, or you can use your selection tool to select the frames that have the content you want to select.
Nice.
So that way you're updating interactively, so you're watching while it happens.
Right. Yes. Yeah, this is a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it.
Now here's another way you can do it. You can just update the whole document. One page or all the pages. To do that, go up to the design, you don't use the panel. You only use the panel if you're tagging, removing tags, replacing tagged information with new tagged information,
Yeah.
or updating a selection. But if you want to work on a document level, then you need to go to the menu and choose merge. Now, notice in our documentation that menu item used to be called update, but now it's called merge.
Okay.
Because we've added new features, and the only way we could add them is to have you come to this special dialog. So when you choose merge, you can indicate what pages you want to update, all, or you can put a range of the pages in the document.
Got it.
And then for your update, notice your action has a menu. And there's different things you can do. We're going to do update document right now.
Yeah.
And then you have options. So we have a special module you can add to your software called Copy Fit, which will automatically fit overset text to a frame when you update.
Mm-hmm. So
But I don't think you have that module, so you don't need it. And then we have rules. I'm not going to go into that today. So you can do apply conditional logic to your tags when you update them, and we're not using that, so we'll leave it set to standard. So we'll go back to the update settings to make sure we got those set up the way we want.
Sorry,
we're looking at options.
update. Oh,
Click
here.
update.
Yeah.
There we go.
Right.
Yeah. So we're going to update the document, and we're going to do all pages. So click start,
Oh.
and it's very fast, and it's all updated.
Wow. Yeah. Except for these. Oh, those weren't tagged.
Yeah, because we didn't tag them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have some errors, and we'll look at those in a minute.
Yeah.
So now let's do edit undo to undo that update. Awesome.
Except for this.
Now, here's another way to update. So one, you could update these just a selection of placeholders by using the panel.
Yeah.
2, you can update 1 or more pages in the document by going to DesignMerge, Merge, and choosing Update Document. But 3, you can do your update with a report, so you know what changed.
Mm.
And the way that you do that is you go to the DesignMerge menu and you choose Merge. And you go back to that Merge dialog.
Yeah.
And now instead of Update Document, open it up and choose Variable Content Report. And it will give you a report on the content that's getting updated.
Nice. Okay.
And click Start.
Oh.
And okay, it's gonna give you a row of information for each placeholder. And the information it will give you is what you choose in the include box. Let's check them all.
Sure.
So include prior content. You can sort the information. So at the very top, let's sort by key.
Okay.
So it'll be sorted by item number. And on the bottom, we're going to perform an update.
Yeah.
Uncheck unassigned keys because you normally would not do that. Uppercase keys, uncheck that. Normally you want to see what key is actually assigned. You don't want us to automatically put them in uppercase in the report.
Right.
And full path doesn't really matter. And then click one way or the other and click OK. And now save the report in this folder. You can give it whatever name you want.
Okay.
Whoops, back to your folder. You lost your folder.
Oh yeah. Okay. So
And now we've updated them in the document, and now you've got a report. And if you want, you can open that in Excel or in TextEdit, whatever you prefer.
Right.
And now you see a report, so you see what was the content it used to show.
Yeah.
So the content field tells you what is the content after it's been updated. Prior content is what was the content before it was updated.
Oh yeah.
BL is what link was assigned, list or sale.
Yeah.
Rule, that should be empty for us because we're not using any rules.
Right.
SC, search criteria, that should be empty because we're not using any search criteria. PS, price cell, that should be empty, we're not using any yet. Notes, that should definitely be empty.
Sure.
Document name, what's the file name that the placeholder's in.
Mm-hmm.
Page number, what page number is it on.
Oh,
Content
yeah.
changed. It will have a star if the old value does not match the new value.
Oh.
And tag status, they should all be okay, but you did run into a few errors so that we can train you on those errors. You're gonna have some that were a no match, and you're gonna have some that were empty field.
Empty field down here, yeah.
And we'll show you how to deal with those. And then we did have one picture link in here. So you see the picture links at the bottom.
Oh, picture report there. Oh, okay, that's the
That's the full paths.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
So I like to update with a report because now not only have I updated them, but I have a report to validate and verify.
Sure. Yeah, that's nice.
So that's how I prefer to do my updating.
Okay.
Okay.
So that was.
So watching my time here, we're at 11:45. Good.
Yeah.
So I want to show you about those errors next.
All right.
And then we will cover everything for today. Hooray.
Yay.
Okay, we've got two kinds of errors that you've occurred, a no match and an empty field. So I'm going to show you no match first. So that's in the EtherStar transceivers table. Notice you have two updated placeholders that say no match.
Yeah.
And your report gave a tag status of no match. So actually you can just click once in the middle so you don't have to be, it saves time for you as a user to not have to highlight. If you look at the panel, and you have the panel open in single tag mode, which it is, we can show you what search key you have assigned. And the one that's assigned, it says R34-144 star.
Oh, yeah.
Now, how did that star get in there? Well, that star is in the document, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, if you took the star out of the document, it would still be assigned to the placeholder. So these are not dynamic.
Oh.
If you change what the item number is in the document, that's not going to change what item number is assigned.
I would have to update it.
It's not dynamic.
Right. So if I delete
Now,
that.
we do have a built-in feature that can make this dynamic.
Yeah.
But to use that feature, you would have to tag your item numbers and do your setup a little differently.
Okay.
But we have some people that do this. They use this special feature that allows them, they tag the item numbers, they tag the prices, and then they use these special lookup features so that the list price placeholder will automatically change to be assigned to whatever item number is showing in the document for that row.
Right.
So just so you know, we can do that.
Yeah.
But in a standard application like this, we don't do that because most people don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
They want it to be a hard assignment. So, how are you gonna fix these no match placeholders? Well, you need to change what keys assigned to them. Here's one way to do that. Click once in the first no match placeholder, or highlight the whole thing, whichever you prefer. Not the key, the placeholder itself. The list price. So either click once in the middle or select all of it.
Right.
Well, you know what? Let me show you what happens if you don't select all of it. Highlight just the word no, double click on no.
Yeah.
And now on the panel, click replace. And look what happened in the document.
Oh, it only did part of it. Yeah, right.
Because when you replace, the new one only contains, do Command Z to undo that.
Okay.
When you click replace, we replace the old one with only what's highlighted in the new one.
Yeah, yeah.
So double click match, for example.
Yeah.
Because you only have match highlighted, when you click replace, match will be the only thing that's linked.
Got it, yeah.
Now undo.
Remove
works the same way. So like double click on match, double click on no, I said that backwards, you would never really just do the match. Double click on no and click remove. And we take the word NO out of the placeholder for you.
Right, so if I just go like this and remove, it'll do the whole thing.
It'll do if you just click once, then we're gonna do the whole thing.
That's important.
But if you select, you need to be careful, you select what you want to have in the new one.
Yeah, so I'm selecting this whole blue line and the highlight.
Yeah, if you want the whole thing, you either have to select the whole thing or just click once inside the middle of it,
somewhere in
which I think
there.
is easier.
Right,
yes,
right.
Less error prone.
Big
now
difference.
on your panel, in the search key box, put the correct search key. So take the star out. And now click replace. And now it's assigned to the correct search key, click update. And it can update.
Oh.
Right?
Oh, so I just changed it, yeah.
What search key was assigned to it.
Right, right, because it picked up the asterisk in the first batch there.
Table tagger picked it up.
Right, yeah.
So here we're changing it so it's not there, and we're doing that individually or manually.
I see. So if I did it here, I would.
Okay, but don't, because I'm going to show you another way to do it.
Okay.
So I showed you how to use table tagger in a basic manner, but it has some special features.
Okay.
So highlight that whole row. And notice you can use table tagger on a single row.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be several rows.
Sure.
And now we go to table tagger mode, and table tagger has preferences. To see your table tagger preferences, we have a button on the panel. It's a shortcut to it. It says TTP for table tagger preferences. Okay, so these are your preferences for when you're using table tagger. We have search key filter preferences, and then we have placeholder preferences, and then we have auxiliary key tagger preferences.
Yeah.
So notice the search key filter at the top.
Yeah.
You can tell table tagger to filter what it is copying before it assigns it. So for example, if you checked digits only, then in your highlighted row, table tagger for that search key would assign only 34144.
Oh.
If you chose alpha only, it would assign just R.
Oh, right.
If you chose digits and alpha, it would assign R34144. So it filters the value that's getting copied and assigned as a search key.
Wow, amazing.
Well, digits only and alpha only won't work for us because we got to keep that dash, so we'll uncheck
Oh,
those.
right, yeah.
What would work for us is the prefix suffix. So where it says suffix, we don't want to automatically add anything when we tag. We want to strip something, and what we want to strip is an asterisk.
Sure. Okay, like that.
Now, you could also do a strip list. So like sometimes it's an asterisk, sometimes it's a different kind of symbol. You can do a strip list. So notice where it says suffix strip, open it up where it says strip, and you can choose strip list. And then comma separate the values you want us to strip.
Oh.
Asterisk, comma, ampersand,
Oh,
comma.
a list in here, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Because sometimes
things.
it's more than one you want us to strip.
Neat.
And you use a comma to separate them.
Yeah.
Okay, now click OK to apply that. Now on your panel, first column is the search key. Column should be last column. You always have to check these settings.
Yeah, right, I see that. Default is first.
Yeah, the variable link is sale price. So something to learn about table tagger is it doesn't know what you have highlighted, so you have to tell it.
Right.
First column, last column, sale price. Click assign. Cool. Now put your panel back in single tag mode by clicking the double T on the left.
Yeah.
Click in that very last placeholder that still says no match in the document.
Yeah.
And notice now that the asterisk is no longer there.
Oh yeah, now it's finding it. Okay. And then
So to fix a no match, one, you can do it individually just by clicking inside the placeholder and changing it in single tag mode in the search key box.
Yeah.
Two, you can use table tagger with search key filters.
Yeah.
To do it automatically like we did here.
Yeah.
Three, you know what? Maybe the search key is not in the data file.
Right.
So if I update this placeholder and it still says no match,
yeah,
I should go open them up my data file and make sure that search key is actually in the data file.
Right.
It may be a missing row in the data file.
Sure. Could be one or the other.
Yeah, so it's kind of a hunt and peck to figure out, make sure you have the search key you thought you should have assigned to it. And if you do, and it's still a no match, go look at your data file to make sure that search key really is in the data file, that it really is in the search key field called item number, or whatever your search key field is.
Yeah, it could be a typo in there, sure.
Or it could be your DDF settings are wrong. It could be your DDF saying to use the list price field for your search key field, and then it'll never find it.
Oh yeah, right.
So there's several different things you need to check.
Yeah.
But the first thing is to look at the placeholder and make sure that the search key you have assigned to the placeholder in the document is the one you thought it should be. And then two, look at the data file. If it is, then look in the data file to make sure that search key is in the data file. And three, if it's neither of those, you can always open a support ticket because now it has something to do with your data file and DDF settings.
I see. Yeah, then it gets like needle in a haystack.
Well, we can probably help you faster because we're so used to troubleshooting those.
Yeah.
But for you, make sure the right search key is assigned and make sure that search key is in your data file. And that, 99% of the time is going to be why you were getting a no match.
Right.
If the wrong search key was assigned or the row's not in the data file.
Those are the most common. Okay, cool.
Exactly. Okay, now, one more, empty field.
Yeah.
Is another, common area you might run into.
Yeah, down here.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, why are these saying empty field? That's because in the data file, those two records have no data in the price field. They're empty.
Right. No data.
So when we went to update them, there was no data for us to bring in.
Yeah.
Because that price field was empty. So now what do? Well, what we do if it's empty, first of all, we can show an error flag, which is what these are doing.
That's what that is.
And this error flag is set in your preferences. So to show you that, go up to the DesignMerge menu, and at the bottom you can choose preferences.
Right there.
Yeah, it just automatically highlighted it for you.
Yeah, I guess because
so it says empty field.
I had it selected here with the cursor. Maybe that's why.
Oh no, that's just how the dialog had open. It doesn't matter what you had selected in the document.
Oh, okay.
That would be kind of cool, but no, that's not what it is. It's because it's the first editable text field in the dialog.
And here,
so
yeah, go down the list. Got it.
So it says empty field. Maybe you want them to be shorter. Maybe you want them to just say empty.
Right.
Or maybe you just want them to say EF exclamation point.
Mm-hmm.
Just make sure whatever error message you put here, you can easily identify and find them in the document.
Mm-hmm. And there's the no match one.
Yep. Now, bad tag, we're not going to cover.
Yeah.
You will not run into a bad tag unless you run setup, DDF setup,
Yeah.
on a document that already contains tags.
That's right. Okay, I remember you saying that.
But if you run setup
Yeah.
on a document that already has tags, you risk creating bad tags.
Yeah. And that will
And if that happens, then just open a support ticket.
Yeah.
But basically, you got to get back to the old DDF, and that may not be easy to do.
Sure.
So open a support ticket, and that'd probably be the easiest way to handle that. But we
Okay.
would rather you just avoid it in the first place. So our important message to you is, if you open a document and it already has tags, do not run setup. Additionally, if a document that you have tagged is using a DDF, never run setup on that DDF, even if it's a new document. So with DesignMerge Catalog,
Yeah.
anytime you have a DDF that's been set up and used, never run setup on that DDF regardless which document you have open. Instead,
Okay.
create a new DDF or edit the DDF, but don't run setup again. So once a DDF has been set up, never set it up again.
Right. Okay.
Create a new one or contact us if you need help. But if you run setup on a DDF that's already been set up and used in any document,
Yeah.
you risk breaking links in documents, and that's when you'll get bad tags. And we would rather you just avoid it in the first place.
Sure. Okay, that's good to know.
Just by knowing, don't run setup on a DDF you've already set up.
Right. So
And
that'll
if you
apply
don't know
to
what to do, just open a ticket and we'll help you.
that'll apply to my job because it's already been set up by someone else.
Exactly, so you're not gonna run setup.
Right.
It's gonna be set up. All you're gonna be doing is tagging and updating, my understanding.
Yes. Yeah. Perfect. Great. Well, it's good to know the
Yeah.
all the ground
So
rules.
let's click,
Right?
I'm not gonna go through all of these other preferences. I'm just gonna point out there is a preferences document in the more documentation space in your documentation.
Yeah.
That that describes practically, but not quite all of these, because we have some new ones that are not in the older documentation.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
before you change a preference, look it up in that document first, so you know
Okay.
what you're changing.
Right.
And two, if there's one here and it's not in the documentation, open the support ticket and ask us about it.
Okay.
But otherwise, I would just go with these defaults,
Sure.
other than what I'm training you on. So like for node data, you could make that shorter if you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it could cause a line to wrap, or it could cause a frame the text to overset a frame.
Yeah. Yeah.
So sometimes when I'm working with catalog, I'll want to make it shorter, just so I know my line won't wrap if I encounter one of these, or so I know my text won't overflow the frame when I encounter these.
Sure.
So I frequently make it uppercase E, uppercase F, exclamation point. But again, you need to make sure that that's a unique value so that you could search for it in the document and not find anything but these empty field placeholders.
Got it. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Thanks. That's a good point.
Excellent. Okay, one more thing about empty fields. Let's click OK. Or cancel, doesn't matter. Okay. As you recall, what to do when a link is empty is a variable link setting.
Mm-hmm.
And by default, we set them up to show an error like this. But you can change what a variable link does when it's empty on a link by link basis. So to see that, we have to go back to your variable link dialog box. So DesignMerge setup, and notice in setup, instead of going to that dialog, you can just go straight to variable links.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Okay, so every variable link has an empty link setting. It's near the bottom of the list.
Empty here. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And they're currently all set to error, because that's what we told them to
That's
set
right.
it to.
Yeah, yeah, we went through that.
Maybe we want it to do something else. So click on that list price link in the list on the left, because that's one we want to modify.
Yeah.
And when it's empty, change it from error.
Yeah.
And say substitute.
Huh.
Call for price.
Right. Nice.
Or I had someone else, they used inquire.
Sure.
So it's shorter.
Yeah, nice.
And now click OK. And now just manually update that one and you'll see what happens.
So update here. Huh.
Now, if you ran a report, the status would still be empty field, but the content would say call for price.
Okay.
So that's a convenient feature. Now there were two other options for when it's empty. If you go back to the variable links dialog box,
Sure.
DesignMerge set up variable links. And list price is the one we're playing with. So you have to choose the
Right.
list price.
Yeah, you do that first, right? Okay.
For your empty link, if you open up the empty link menu where it says substitute.
Yeah.
Okay, we looked at error and we looked at substitute.
Yeah.
Open the menu again. Under empty link, link.
Here, yeah.
There you go. Stay here. Okay, you saw what error does.
Yeah.
And you saw what substitute does.
Sure.
I'm going to show you what ignore does. So click ignore and say okay. And now you're on B16076, click update. We ignore it. So type in 0.00 where it says empty field. In the document where it says empty field, type 0.00. And now highlight 0.00 in the document and update it. So you get a better feeling of what it does. We ignore updating.
Right, so it's your manual.
Whatever it showed before, it will still show because there was no price for it in the data file.
Right.
Now,
right.
you have no way of knowing what happened if you're just doing it interactively from the document or with update document. But if you do it with a report, then the update report will indicate in the status that, oh, it was empty, but the value did not change.
I see. It'll tell you that, eh?
Yeah, so some people use ignore because they're like, if there's no price in the data file,
Yeah.
use the former price.
Yeah.
But they do it with a report so they can go look it up and make sure that that's not an error in the data file, that it should not have been empty.
It's a confirmation. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So you can use ignore if that suits your purposes better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could
Or
happen.
you can use substitute if that suits your purposes better.
Right.
What you don't want to do is delete. And to show you that, let's go back to your variable links dialog box. DesignMerge set up variable links.
Yeah.
And choose the list price link on the left. And change your empty link setting to delete. And now click OK. And now update that B16074 price where it says zeros.
Oh, I didn't have it highlighted. Oh, it's gone.
And it's permanently gone. You are not getting it back unless you type it in.
Huh.
Oh, you can do edit undo right now.
Of course, yeah. Huh.
So the delete feature is only used in special cases.
Sure. Yeah.
I want to put your preferences back to substitute. So let's go back to DesignMerge setup variable links and change your list price setting to substitute.
Oh.
Yeah. And you could do the same for sale price if you want.
Right.
That's better, right?
Yeah, yeah. I like it better, yeah.
So I would either keep the error message or you can link by link. You might want them to do something different.
Right. Oh, it's blank. Huh. Okay.
Wrong field. Hold on. Yeah.
Oh,
List
yeah,
price
sir.
is copper price. What about sale price? What do you have sale price set to do?
Error.
Why don't you substitute sale price? There you go.
Okay.
Those, by the way, the only reason that field is automatically populating with the words call for price is because we already set it up.
Yeah.
In your DDF, it might be an empty field and you have to type in whatever you want it to say.
Right, manually.
This is the only reason it's auto-populating with the word call for price is because we'd already set it up.
Yes, right, okay.
Okay, so now we've covered all your error messages too.
Oh, that's good, yeah.
Yeah. So, and we've run over, but we've covered everything in tutorial number 1. We went into quite detail about the background information. What is a data file? What is a DDF? What are all those settings? How does this all work in the background?
Sure.
And then I showed you how to tag individually. I showed you how to tag tables. Then I showed you how to update individually, how to update the document pages, and then how to update with a report. And then we talked about no match errors and empty field errors and played with those. And then we just talked about bad tags because we're not going to actually create a bad tag.
Yeah, yeah. Great. Well, I'd be really interested, looking forward to looking at these files now after doing it without knowing anything, and then now actually having this knowledge will be really helpful.
Oh, I hope so. That would be awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
yeah.
My understanding is this is really all the information you needed was how to work with the DDFs, how to tag, and how to update.
Yeah.
But in that training syllabus, in your second session, we can do so much more. We can update pictures. We can set up a document so sometimes it brings in the US price, other times it brings in the UK price.
Okay.
We can apply those price styles so that we can style a price in a special way. We can use search criteria if the data file does not have unique search keys. You know, it's got more than one row with the same item number, for example.
Yeah.
We can lock placeholders to say when they should update and when should they not. We have the notes feature, which I warned you about, don't use it. And then we have batch processing. When you update a document or you run an update report, I showed you how to do it on a single document. We can do it on a whole batch of documents all at once.
Wow, yeah, once you set it up properly and then do more than one.
Yeah. I talked about the trans table feature already. I talked about tag text already. And then we have special utilities and preferences that we don't go into in great detail, but they are in the manual if you want more information, and how to manage your DDFs, which we kind of already talked about. So those are the topics we did not train you on. We might have just referred you to them. If any of those other topics turn out to be something that you would like to have training on, you are more than glad to set up a second session. I would be pleased to present these other features to you.
Okay.
Maybe especially batch processing. But when you get your document, you'll know if you need to know more about picture linking and price styles.
Right. I'll find
So
out.
I would say price styles and pictures are something you may want to know about. And then also batch processing for sure. And then all those other features, it just depends on the job. They're kind of, you know, not used as frequently, like the updating for different markets or using search criteria.
Right. So do you think I should go?
So if you'd like a second session so we can cover batch processing, and then by then you should know, do you also want to know about pictures or price styles? We can cover those in more detail.
All right.
In a second session.
Perfect, great. So I guess I should go over my supplied files and just see if I have any questions for next time.
Yes, that too. So we can answer any questions you have specifically about your job at the same time. As to what you'll be doing and applying this information that I've given you today to your files.
Sure. Perfect. Great idea.
That would help too. So
what,
I would say like maybe in a week or so.
Yeah, give me some time.
Yeah, you could just send me an email to let me know you're ready to learn how to do batch processing and whatever else you'd like to learn. And if you have any questions about having applied this to the jobs you have.
And what kind of lead time do you need for scheduling another session?
Generally, we say 2 weeks.
Yeah. So I should.
But, so we'd say 2 weeks.
So I should book today then for, like, if you want to give me a time?
Well, we actually might, I have to like get out of, full screen.
Sure.
Exit full screen,
Okay.
go to my calendar. So I have to, the tricky part's finding, a time when discard changes were available. So next week, so next week's starting to fill up.
Yeah.
So if you want next week, we should go ahead and schedule it now.
Okay, sure.
So do you want the same time next week?
Yeah, sure. Thursday, and that'll be the 20th?
Thursday the 20th, that would be correct. And let me put this in here real quick.
Okay.
And I'll put in the details later here. Where do I do this? It's not all day. And what, you want the same time?
Yeah, perfect.
That was a good time for you?
Yep.
10?
Mm-hmm.
1 sec while I make sure I've got this in the calendar.
Okay.
Before anybody else takes the spot in our calendar.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So I've got 10 to 2 on Thursday the 20th.
Yeah.
Awesome, you got it, nobody else can do it now.
Perfect.
So I'll set up a invitation, and our calendar Zoom system will automatically send you the invitation in an email.
Okay.
So look in your spam folders, and I'll send you an email to let you know that you should have received it. That will have your link to join the session.
Yes.
And we'll cover batch processing and then anything else you might have questions about based on what's listed in the syllabus that we did not cover, or based on your experiences playing with your files before, after this.
Yes. Looking forward to it,
Sounds
Jan.
like a good plan?
Yes, Jan, thank you very much.
Excellent.
Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's
It was fun giving you the training. You caught on very quickly.
Excellent.
Great job.
Yeah, thanks a lot. That's great. It's a lot of talking for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go rest for a while now.
Yeah, that must be hard on the
No more
throat.
talking for me the rest of the day.
I'm getting hungry.
Yes, that too.
That's the only thing about
Okay,
this
well,
time.
thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jan.
See
Have
you
a good
next
one.
week,
Okay,
then.
see you next week.
Oh,
Bye. Yeah.
one more quick thing.
Yeah.
What if you run into a support issue? Go up to the DesignMerge issue.
Yeah.
I almost forgot to do this. DesignMerge menu, help,
Yeah.
online support center.
Oh, it takes me to the web?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, open up web. Why is it going to the web? I can't see it.
oh. Didn't work for me. I don't know
I
why.
wonder why.
Yeah. Strange.
Okay, well, if it doesn't work, just open a new tab here.
Here, let me try.
You know,
one more try. I'll try.
Well, it might be because we are in a Zoom session and
Yeah.
the Zoom meeting might be interfering with it. So when you click that, it'll take you to our Meadows Support Center.
Okay.
If after your Zoom it still does not work,
Yeah.
then open up a browser window for me now and we'll just bookmark the page.
Okay.